All right, let's get into our first major discussion of the day now. Kaduna has witnessed several killings and kidnappings by armed bandits this year. Despite the deployment of police and military personnel to the state, kidnappers and other armed bandits have continued their brazen attacks without fear.
Now, over the weekend, 4 police officers fell victim to armed men when bandits ambushed a team of police officers in Jankasa village in Kaduna State. The officers killed were part of an intelligence response team on special assignment in the area to wipe out bandits terrorizing the people. All right, Ayodele Adio is still very much with us here in the studio, and we have TVC News Kaduna State correspondent. Okay, we hope Tessa Makende will join us sooner than...
yeah, I think he's there.
He's there already? Okay, Tessa Makende, very good. Good morning. Good to have you on the show today. Tell us exactly what this is, because I recall, was it in 2017 when soldiers had caught a thief, only for the police to ask that that thief should be handed over. The soldiers refused to hand over the thief, but the same night, the same soldiers were actually ambushed, right? So now it raises the question as to whether really, truly, these are bandits carrying out these crimes, or is it a possible rivalry between soldiers and the police?
Well, good morning, Ngozi and Mike.
Good morning, Tessa.
Yeah, it's. I don't think it's rivalry in any way. Maybe to explain or answer you to the fore about what's happening. Basically, I should share an experience that happened just last week. I met victims of banditry who were lucky to escape. Not really escape because their father had to pay a ransom of $1 million, and luckily they saw one of the bandits after they had been released. And so they called the attention of security personnel who, went and then picked up this particular bandit. It was actually a gang of 4, but they were able to recognize one person. So it is what happened last week. I must also tell you that this happened in Igabi local government. Igabi forms part of Kaduna metropolis. We have about 4 local governments that make up the metropolis of Kaduna. Now, this happened in Igabi, meaning that, a lot still happens that we don't really know about, even as media people. What happened last week that, of course, I reported it on TVC, happened on your way to Zaria at about 9:10 p.m. So a lot is happening. I don't think what happened yesterday or last week in the case of the police officers was a case of rivalry between the police and the soldiers at all.
Okay.
Now, before I come to Ayodele, Tessem, talk to us about this Kaduna axis where this bandits and kidnapping has been taking place. What's peculiar about that place that this act has been perpetrated continually in that area?
Well, Kaduna is very pivotal to northern Nigeria. Kaduna is, like we all know, northern Nigeria's capital politically and in several respects. Kaduna is about the most, is one of the windows, is about the major window that takes you to Abuja, Nigeria's capital, connecting the northwestern states of Zamfara, Katsina, Sokoto, and a host of others. And so there's a lot of traffic, especially at weekends and even on other weekdays. So Kaduna is quite peculiar. The highway, the Kaduna-Abuja highway, has been in the news, not for the best of reasons. Because of that, the traffic on this road, making a lot of traffic around the rails, the train stations now. But I must tell you that even the train stations, we have feelers that, kidnappers and people who are in the bad act have been making attempts to, attack that as well. So it is a battle for survival. It's a trade for them, and they are bent on not going back. We must also commend security agencies who have been trying to check it, But generally, the bandits are on, and it's a thriving business for them, I must say.
All right, Tessa Makende, our TVC correspondent there in Kaduna. If you have any new developments, please feel free to get back to us to give us all the information available. All right, back to Ayodele Adio right here in the studio. There's a timeline of killings of police and soldiers in the same axis. In July, of course, 2 officers were killed. In March, 11 troops were killed in Birnin Kebbi, the same, Birnin Gwari actually, in the same Kaduna. Don't forget, in Abuja some weeks ago, 7 police officers were gunned down. This raises the question. It looks like there's a deliberate attempt now to target security forces.
I don't think there is a deliberate attempt, to target security forces.
Okay. The
reason why you get to know about the security forces is because that is usually amplified. When a policeman gets killed, he can be accounted for, by the police headquarters or the military headquarters. So you can put a name and a face to him, and that's why he makes news headlines. The reality is, on the Kaduna-Abuja highway, it's every single week is a story of disaster. It is somebody's been kidnapped, somebody's been killed, somebody's being robbed. It's become a siege. It's run completely by bandits. And I find it quite worrying because at the time where the airport was being renovated
yes.
Kaduna, where the VVIPs had to go by road from Kaduna to Abuja, you never had a single case, of obstruction on that highway. And it begs the question, is our security apparatus in this country designed for regime security or for VVIPs, and you and I can pray to God for our own protection? Or there has to be something that needs to be done by the hierarchy of not just the police force, but the highest level of government, to look dispassionately at the security situation in our country and decidedly fix this issue. Because you can't continue to lose lives every single day as though they never matter. It was lives of chickens and hens and guinea pigs. People die recklessly on these roads every day. The last time I traveled from Abuja to Kaduna, you needed to see the prayers before we left the park. For the first time in my life, I saw, if Muslims were answering amen to the Christian prayers, and Christians were answering prayers because they were going to travel down that road. It has come to that. I mean, it's come to that level, for goodness sake. And something needs to be done because our people are dying every day needlessly.
Now, we know that the government had deployed military and even police to that area before. But I wonder how effective or how impactful that has been.
Mike, we're grossly under-policed. We don't need a town crier, a prophet, to tell us that you do not have enough police. You have barely 400,000 policemen attempting to secure 180 million people. Of the 400,000 policemen that you have a sizable chunk that are protecting VVIPs, government officials, are protecting privileged installations around the country. So you have 200 plus policemen to protect you and I in the country. So
yeah, but security experts themselves will tell you can never really have enough police, enough soldiers and all of that if there is a good deployment of technology.
And intelligence.
And intelligence. That in itself would serve as some kind of deterrent.
Oh, yes.
But when those people know that they can strike and move without, I will be told unknown gunmen, unknown bandits, no investigation, no nothing that leads to any kind of closure that these people have been arrested, so that you can have some level of deterrence.
Technology is good, is brilliant, but you need more boots on the ground. You have to admit that we're grossly under-policed.
Yeah.
I remember one time, Femi Falana was talking about the fact that 30,000 police officers were sent to Ekiti to keep the peace. And he said very cheekily that the truth is, what you actually need to police Ekiti is 30,000 police people at the end of the day. So you didn't need to move 30,000 there. What actually needed to be policed, or what you need to police
regularly
is 30,000.
So which means multiply 30,000 by 36 states.
By 36
that
states,
should give you an idea of how many we should
the
have.
country. So you need more policemen, better trained, better equipped, because it just looks to me, and I hope I'm wrong, that you have one special police unit headed by a genius, Abba Kyari, who does an excellent job around the country.
Fantastic job.
And if Abba Kyari is not leading a team, you're not sure if anything is going to happen. We need to be able to replicate Abba Kyari in the 36 states of the country, and if possible, in all senatorial districts in the country. You need people who think fast, who are brilliant, who love the job, and can get results for you.
The Abba Kyari you just mentioned now really brings us to the issue of when there is a special assignment or a crack team that needs to handle a very sensitive issue. Abba Kyari is deployed from Abuja, the IGP's office, to handle it. So it means that in the whole apparatus or the structure of the Nigerian security, or the, sorry, not security, but the Nigeria police, it means the IG's special squad is the only one with the power, with the required intelligence, with the required knowledge and skills
and all that,
to handle and unravel anything across the country.
You see why we have a problem. You see why we have a problem. That's why I said, except you can replicate the quality of the Abba Kyari's team across the 36 states, and if possible, across every senatorial district in the country, you're still going to be dealing with issues like this. Because what you have, let me tell you sincerely, you have people who are running, security, police people, manning locations that they have very little understanding of. I keep telling you that, you see, the geography of these places play a crucial role in manning those places effectively.
And it requires the people who understand.
People do not understand the geography of those places. And if you don't understand it, there is no way you can be on top of them. The people who commit this mayhem, if you check in this same Kaduna axis, there's a forest there where these people run into and take cover. The same thing usually happens in Zamfara. There's this huge forest there where people run into, and then the security can't chase anymore because you do not understand the geography of those terrain. So you need brilliant and intelligent police officers who understand the geography of those locations, who know the in and out of that region, who are deployed across these flashpoints and can do a thorough job, aided by technology, of course. But when we keep using this baton approach, I mean, we'll just continue to recycle violence.
Okay, and then, I just did a quick math. I don't know how sound my math is.
Did you have a distinction in mathematics?
Unfortunately, I can't say I did. I wish I could say that. Nigeria needs about 1.2 million boots on ground.
Whoa.
Right? Yeah, that's what it means. Yes, if we're to have 30,000 police officers in all 36 states. And now it's just barely 300,000.
But the UN standard says 400 police to 400 people.
Yeah, with the population of Nigeria, imagine how many police officers we need. Now, it raises the question of what happens to the dependents and immediate families of slain officers. Now, that's another question. I mean, you talked about the need for, intelligent and brilliant officers on the ground. I doubt whether that really is the problem. These are people who, when they go outside of the shores of this country, they do very well. They excel. And yet, when they come back, they face the environmental challenge of, number one, there's no welfare for them to start with, no incentives and all of that. And so why do you expect a policeman to give his all? When he finds himself in the battlefront or in, situations like this.
I mean, there is no doubt, that the police issue is a systemic problem. There are different parts of the montage that creates a problem, for the policeman who is on the street. And that's why usually a tough statement from the executive that we're going to reform the police hardly changes anything. So you can talk with all the gusto that you want. But when reality or when the rubber meets the road, same thing usually happens. Nothing really changes. And that's why when the vice president and acting president yesterday make that bold proclamation to reform the SARS and by extension the Nigeria police, excited as I was, I knew that enough work has not been put into it. If you know what it takes to reform a small organization, you will know that reforming a police is not a tea party.
It's not just a change of name.
What is the extent of reform that should happen?
I think John Cotter is his name, is a professor of leadership, who talks a lot about change management process and how to manage change in any organization. First, you need a sense of urgency that something needs to be done. And we can all agree that it's a sense of urgency that the police needs to be rejigged. And he talks about building a coalition, the right team and framework and support structure to pull this change together. He goes on to talk about the vision you know, that you want this organization to focus on. So if we do not want this kind of police, what kind of police do we want? And that picture of that police you want, you need to be able to communicate it from the top hierarchy of the police.
And even in all of those, there's a talk about the fact that the police needs to have an ideology.
Yes.
That ideology pushes so that when you bring anyone in, they act by the rules and engagement and how the ideology specifies. Ayodele Adio, thank you so much for coming on the program this morning.
Thank you. As always.